The Power Moms Network, empowering moms to lift the world.
Welcome. I'm Riley Karsh.
I'm Tova Kopan.
We are thrilled to bring you the We Go Boldly podcast.
Let's talk big burning questions, life changes, and maybe a bit of personal business.
Let's be bold and brave together. Are you ready?
I am. Here comes the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to We Go Boldly, the podcast where we are celebrating women stepping into their power and living their most authentic lives. We are also thrilled to be a part of the Power Moms Network. At Power Moms Network, we are empowering moms and creating a community of mothers mentoring other moms to greatness. Check us out over there at Power Moms Network. It's a very, very cool place to be for all the moms out there. One quick reminder, we do have our weekly women's circle. We would love for you to come check it out. If you need a little bit of support, if you want to go deeper into our topics that we cover in the podcast, if you just want an hour to yourself a week where you get to talk to like-minded women, it is fantastic. You can find out more at goboldlyinitiative.com/weekly circle, and we would love to have you join us. I've got all my technical stuff out of the way. I'm going to welcome Tova to the show, and then we are going to dive right in to our interview for today. Tova, what's going on?
Oh my goodness, it's Friday afternoon. We're recording this on Friday afternoon. So my mind is like a jumble of Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
I just took my dog for a walk and I was like, oh, it's so cute. He's carrying a little piece of mulch as we walk. It's so adorable. And I went to look at it and it was half a fish.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
I felt it coming. I felt it coming.
You felt the twist coming.
Yep.
But you know, it's Friday afternoon and then it's May. It kind of snuck up on us, but here we are.
Yeah. As everyone knows, it is season 12. We're talking about being the driver of your own story, being the author of your own story. There's so many mixed metaphors in my head right now. We're talking about being in charge of your life and being the person making the decision and recognizing when you're not the person making the decision inside your own head. So it's been a fascinating season. We have a few more weeks of this topic to continue with, and we have an incredible guest with us today. Tova, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce him, but I just want to say I'm really excited. I think this is going to be a great conversation.
Yes. So let me introduce everyone to Russ Terry. Russ is a coach, a motivational speaker, HR, and diversity consultant. He has coached thousands of people at companies such as Microsoft, Google, PwC, spoken at countless organizations, including NASA, United Airlines, the FBI, L'Oreal, like quite diversity just in those organizations. He coaches on executive coaching, career coaching, confidence, time management, self-care, but just a huge variety of things. He's written a 4-part book series all about gratitude. If you are watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see his shirt that says gratitude across from it. It's not attitude. It's not, or grateful, not eightful. But he also, one of the reasons we were so excited to talk to Russ, including all of those things, is that he has had a diversity of careers. Many years as a CPA, 5.5 years as a TV anchor and reporter, and 8 years in human resources. So he has certainly written his own story. So with that, we would like to welcome you, Russ. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. I'm grateful to be here.
Love
To
it.
show you the full shirt. Now I can show you the rest of my head.
That's
Maybe
fantastic.
if I back up a little, there we go.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We are, fascinated with stories here at We Go Boldly. We really want people, all people, but obviously we focus on women a lot. We want people to be aware of like the voices in their head and who's telling you you have to be a CPA or who's telling you have to be an artist. Like, why are those the voices in your mind? And can you determine what's yours and what's outside influence? And so, well, that's what we've been talking about all season long. And we've been talking to different folks about their experiences in their lives. And so we want to start talking with you about kind of your vision for your future and like if you go in the Wayback Machine and you think about when you were younger, how did you set out a vision? Did you set out a vision for yourself for your future? And is it something that you kind of always had, or did you evolve that over time? Talk to us a little bit about what that all looks like.
Yeah, so I think I knew I wanted to make money and get a good job, and
Sure.
I was very good at numbers, and so that's how I landed on accounting as the major I ended up having in undergrad. I say it that way because it was like my fourth choice as a major. But ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to be a TV reporter, but I also knew that the field was very competitive. So I actually went with accounting undergrad, got an internship when I was a junior, had an offer when I was done that internship for full time after I graduated, which is awesome to have a job offer that you accepted before the summer, before your senior year. So I ended up working as an auditor for 4.5 years, ended up switching into HR, did HR for a year and a half. And it was during that HR period that I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to be a TV reporter ever since I was a little kid. I'm going to go for it. And it's interesting. One of my close friends from undergrad in my job, we knew each other from both. She said, I don't think you're going to do it. And that was all the motivation I needed. Like, don't tell a Leo he or she isn't going to do something, you know? So I obviously wanted to do it anyway. I wasn't just doing it to prove her wrong. But um, yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for this. And to then graduate and spend 5.5 years as a TV reporter, living out my dream ever since I was a little kid was awesome. And I want people to go boldly and whatever their dreams are to go for it because I'm living proof you can absolutely make it happen and be living your dreams, whatever those dreams are. And oh, by the way, the dreams can change and you can have a different dream at a different season in life and you can go for that too.
I know Tova has a question, but I want to jump in because you said something and I want to go back to it and get you to talk about it a little more in depth. And that is like you decided when you were in HR that you were going to do this thing that was probably a pretty big risk. Probably something that people were like, I don't know what you're doing. That's crazy. Like you got some pushback on. Go back to your family systems and your upbringing and your kind of life before college and talk to us about where that inner knowing, that trust of your intuition, the gut check that you must have done, where does that come from for you? How did you get to the point where, because not everyone can do that. Not everyone can be like, I really want to do this and it's scary, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, it's fascinating because I come from a big Italian family in the Philadelphia suburbs, and I have like 30 some first cousins, and 90 some percent of people in the family are still in, the same town or same area. One segment, a segment here or there moved to other places, but, for my parents specifically, they, up until after my dad got remarried and retired, were both still in the same area. So, it wasn't anything in my family system or upbringing that inspired me. Somehow I was inspired otherwise. And my mom will probably kill me for saying this, but I remember when I called her from here in New York to say that, I got accepted to Syracuse and I was going to go. The Italian mother with the tight apron strings was like, "Oh, so you're going to move further away from me?" I was like, "Oh my gosh." So I heard that, but I'm doing it anyway,
Yeah.
So I think there's just something in me that I'm very comfortable stepping out on faith and taking the first step, even if I don't see the entire staircase.
Um, what made you as a kid want to be a TV reporter?
I just remember going to Phillies games growing up, and I just thought that would be the coolest job ever. And I remember I'd be there in the stands pretending I was broadcasting their games, and my dad would be like, "Oh, yeah, he's mine. Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize, everybody." But yeah, it just seemed like a really cool thing. And I think I'm naturally outgoing and comfortable talking and comfortable public speaking. And I know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. Don't ask me to fix your car or assemble IKEA furniture. But if you want me to talk on the spot about something that I know a lot about, I'm good. Let's go.
Right. Um, was it what you expected it would be when you started? Like, was it all you dreamt it would be to be a TV reporter? Can you talk to
Yes.
us about
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
it?
So I was in Western New York State. So I cover the Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Sabres, and lots of high school sports. And I started early July, maybe July 5th. So then within a month, I was at Bill's training camp interviewing Doug Flutie like this. I mean, I was like this close to him, and he's such an icon, especially at that point in the early 2000s. Um, and then within another month or 6 weeks or so, I was on the field for an NFL game, and I was on the field, every Bills home game, and eventually graduated to be in the press box for the home games instead of on the field because what you see on TV isn't exactly as glamorous when you're on the field. It can be really hot, it can be really cold. You're there anyway. But yeah, I mean, I had high hopes, and working in the field exceeded my high hopes. And it's not to say that it was perfect, but overall, it was such a fantastic experience, and I would absolutely do it again in a heartbeat.
So, I want to talk about something you said because you said that, you can have these dreams and you can go for them and then they can change. And we've talked about that over the years that we've had this, and we've talked about like checking in with yourself so that you're like, wait, is this still my dream? And we've even talked about it in the context of like hobbies. Like people think that once they pick a hobby, like that has to be your hobby for the rest of your life. And like if you stop doing it, you're like quitting, which maybe you are, but that's allowed. Like you're allowed to be like, I don't want to knit anymore. That's okay. Um, so what happened that you were like, it's run its course. This was amazing. I hit my goal, but now I'm ready for something else.
Yeah, so the TV industry is super competitive, and I was so lucky. Of my 29-person graduating class, I was the first one to get a job and move away. Maybe one or two had jobs locally in Syracuse, which was where I went, but I was the first one to get a job and move away. I graduated June 30th and started a new job in a new city that I had never been to July 5th. So, like 6 days later, or, whatever that is. Um, so, the station was overall great. And once I was there a year, I was like, okay, I'm ready for a bigger challenge. And the person above me, I was the sports reporter, and then somebody else was like the Monday through Friday sports anchor. He left to go to a bigger station, which is very common in the industry. So from a succession planning standpoint, you would think, okay, Russ has been training. Russ is doing a great job. Russ has great feedback. Our viewers love him. He's super likable. He'll get promoted to be the Monday through Friday anchor, and then we'll bring somebody in under Russ. That didn't happen. And, these things transpire sometimes in the workplace. I think in that job, one of the negatives, there weren't very many, but one was the news director wanted me to do news whenever something happened and things didn't go smoothly. Somebody called in sick. Oh, we'll have Russ jump in. There's breaking news here. We'll have Russ jump in. Somebody's on vacation. We'll have Russ jump in. So if I got promoted to that position, then she can't have Russ jump in because now Russ is your sports anchor. So that's my take on it. That's why I didn't get promoted. Which again, these things happen in corporate America. So then they brought somebody in from the outside who wasn't as good as the guy he was replacing. So another thing at that station was we didn't have a live truck, if you will. So when you're watching the news, you often see, let's go live to Riley at Grand Central Station. Riley, what's the update from there? Well, we didn't have that. So we could go live from one or two places. So when I went to submit my resume reel to other stations, I basically started applying, after a year or so. And in those 4.5 years between when I applied and when I eventually decided to leave, I must have applied to 100 stations. And back then at the time, you had to make like a VHS tape. I sound like I'm from the Stone Ages, you know. You had to make a VHS tape that was like 8 to 10 minutes long. It had to be labeled, and then you had to go to the post office and ship it, you know, which all takes time and money and everything. So 4.5 years of doing that, as you can imagine, starts to wear on somebody. And then the final straw, if you will, is I got a job part time at the ABC station in Buffalo. So I was working at a station in Jamestown, which is super small, population 30,000. We were the only station there Monday through Friday, and then working at the ABC station in Buffalo behind the scenes, not on air, Saturdays and Sundays. So from Easter until my birthday in August, I worked every day between the two jobs. They were an hour and 20 minutes apart. So fast forward, the number three on air person at the Buffalo job leaves. He gets a job at WGN in Chicago. Amazing opportunity. So the sports director, the number two guy, who, by the way, was the person I worked for in Jamestown like 5 years ago, they were like, yes, let's have Russ as the new number three. You know, he's already working here part-time. Jeff had known me for 5+ years. The news director and general manager wanted to go a different route. So again, it's like this same thing has happened to me where I know I'm not overstating that I'm qualified. And for various reasons, they chose somebody else. So I was like, you know what? I'm good. I had a good run. This is the motivation I leave to step away from the industry. So, you know, yes, I went boldly. Yes, I had a fantastic experience at the point that the level of fantasticness, if you will, was being reduced because of some frustrating things happening. I was like, you know what? I want to move back to New York City. I can go back to my old job, which we talked about big risk before. I knew I could always go back to my old job. And I thought I might have to if I didn't get a job after I graduated. But when I contacted them 6.5 years after I left, they were happy to take me back. And the partner was like, Russ, I don't have to interview you. I know you're sitting across from me, but just tell me how you are. And, you know, you'll definitely get a yes from me. So, yeah, I went back, and I think the concept of boomerang, where, you know, an employee leaves an organization and comes back, can be a win for both sides. They knew what they were getting, somebody with experience. I was grateful that I didn't have to apply many places. I've reached out to one or two friends there. They referred me. I interviewed and got hired right away. Started December 19th because they were super desperate. And then the firm had a mandatory 10-day shutdown for Christmas. So I got a free vacation. I was like, you know what? I'm very happy to be back in corporate America to work a week and then get 10 days paid vacation. So I always want people to know you can be empowered to choose whatever you want. If you want to keep your hobby, keep your hobby. If you want to stop doing your hobby, stop doing your hobby. If you want to go for your dream job, go for your dream job. Or if life transpires and then you have a different dream job, like the path that I'm on now, you can go for a different dream job that you didn't even know was a dream.
We need to take a quick break. So I want to do that. When we come back, I want to get sort of deeper into the weeds of how you make decisions and like what influences your decision making, your choices, where you're going, where you've been, all of those things. But let's take a quick break, everyone, and we will be right back. Well, hello there, ladies. Are you ready to elevate your life and connect with like-minded souls? Join us every week at the Go Boldly Together weekly Women's Circle, where strength meets sisterhood. Dive into empowering discussions, share your victories, and navigate challenges together. Our circle is a safe space for growth and inspiration. Experience the power of collective wisdom and unleash your full potential. Don't miss out on the transformative energy. Click the link in our show notes or visit us at goboldlyinitiative.com/women's weekly group to learn more about our Go Boldly Circle today. Together, let's embrace the journey of personal development and let's celebrate that unstoppable force within each of us. All right. Welcome back to the show. Before the break, I mentioned I want to get a little deeper and I want to hear more about your struggles and what you've overcome to get to the places that you are. Because I think that's where growth happens, right? Is the struggle. And so I'd like to understand, I guess, how you're making decisions. Do you have like a set of values that you know that you have, and those values guide your decisions? Are you just following your instincts? Are you sort of falling into things like where maybe it's all of those things? I think probably for all of us it is. But where is your decision making come from? And like, where are the struggles coming in for you?
So I'll start with the struggles part because then that leads to the next big decision in my life. So I go back to PwC, my old job at the accounting firm, back into HR where I worked for 18 months. And it was great for 6+ years. So I ended up being there, 12 and a half years total, all the way from 20-year-old intern to 40-year-old senior manager. Obviously, I had time away in between. And the very last role that I had, the director and I didn't really see eye to eye. So I got a bad performance review on 11/11/11, November 11th, 2011. I know, such a powerful date.
Yeah.
And he threatened to fire me 2 weeks before Christmas. And I didn't enjoy working for him anyway. So one of the things that comes in terms of how I decide things is I'm very open and transparent with the people in my life about what's happening because I feel like talking about stuff is good and I can brainstorm on things, they can listen, they might have an idea. So as I was doing that, saying, I'm probably going to have to leave, I got this bad review, I don't know what I'm going to do next. Two different friends who didn't know each other both said to me within 2 or 3 weeks of each other, have you thought about becoming a coach? I think you would be so great at it. And I hadn't thought about becoming a coach, but when the second person said something, I said, hey, God, it's me, Margaret. I'm listening. And these things happen in life. People see potential in us that we might not even see in ourselves. And I still applied for jobs, to mitigate the risk, but not like my life depended on it. I made it to the final two for two different jobs. And in both cases, they went with the other candidate for very valid reasons. I probably would have made the same decision. So I looked into coaching. I liked what I heard. I looked into two different programs. The one I was leading toward, my last day at this job ended up being March 15th. And the coaching program I was leading toward had a start date of March 16th. So again, it's like all these things are conspiring in a good way to have a new path. So I walked out of the old job on a Thursday at 5 o'clock, walked into my new life at 8:30 the next morning, um, 5 blocks away. And by lunchtime that first day, I was like, oh my God, this is what I was born to do. And at the end of the first 3-day weekend of the training, I went up to the instructor and I was like, I know I just quit my job 3 days ago and I'm 3 days into this path, but I think I'm ready to start having paying clients. And she was like, I think you are too, Russ, go for it. So I got my first client 3 weeks later. Within a month and a half, I had 8 clients, and I'm now in year 14 as a successful entrepreneur. So I like being an example of going boldly, not just once, but multiple times in life.
Well, and Riley and I talk about signs a lot, not necessarily on the podcast, but just like in our lives. And I think it's a great example that those are signs that if you're not looking for, I mean, those were really loud signs. Like, let's just be honest, those were all like really loud signs. But I also think that sometimes even the loudest signs, if you're not open to them, you're not going to see them. Like you could easily dismiss two friends. Like you shouldn't because they're telling you very clearly, like, hey, this is something that we think you'd be great at. And who's better to tell you these things than your friends that care about you? But I think it's so easy to dismiss these things. And yet, if you're open to being guided, then these signs are there. And they are just kind of lining up to just help you, I don't know, find that path. So my question for you is if you're working with somebody and they are maybe not buying into this concept of signs or of, you know, we love to go into the woo of things in the universe, and that's easy for us. So we're like all in, like, yes, November 11th, we're there. And like the next start date, yes, like we are all in. We're like, you clearly were told exactly what to do. But if there are people who are like, I'm not following the signs, or I don't see the signs, or I'm, you know, I it isn't natural for them, or they feel stuck. Because I know sometimes even I can be so stuck that I love a good sign and I find them everywhere when I'm open to them. I mean, we laugh that sometimes it's like the TV's talking to me. It's uncanny, but when I'm stuck, I don't see it. So, like, what do you say to the people that you're working with or just friends when you can tell they're so stuck that they can't get out of their own way?
Yeah, I think human beings are different, and there are some people that are more comfortable going for it than others. And I'm definitely comfortable going for it. My sister is the total opposite. She's had two employers post college, and she's 51 years old, and she'd probably be still at the first one if she didn't become job free and it wasn't her choice. So, again, I'm spilling all my family business, but all good. I'm sure they're fine with it. Um, so I have one young woman that I'm working with that fits this description. And she was in a job that wasn't going well, became job free, as I say. It wasn't her choice, and has been having a lot of trouble getting a similar job. And part of it is, this just isn't a natural thing for her. And it's no judgment of her whatsoever. So I can give that feedback to her in a direct way, which I did. But also, it's incumbent on her to choose when to step away from it when she's ready to step away from it. So it did take her a while to not keep going down this path where there wasn't momentum. That job where you're making this really nice salary, it's almost like not a real thing if you don't like it and you're not great at it. Yes, technically that was your salary, but that's not what you are really trying to replace. The ideal scenario is you have something that you're good at and that you make good enough money at. And it could be totally different. So I am happy to say that months later, in our most recent session this week, her number one thing is to become a Zumba teacher. And she just got engaged. She doesn't need full time revenue. She doesn't need that banking corporate job making six figures. She just needs something in addition to planning her wedding, which is going to be amazing. And I'm excited and happy for her and so proud of her that she decided this on her own.
What um what do you think is your biggest struggle going forward in planning kind of for your future? What gets in your way? Like what, throws you off your game?
Luckily, I'm not a get in my way, thrown off my game kind of person. So I would say career wise, things are a 100 out of 10 for me, which I'm very grateful for. I think um, the two big P's that are internal distractions for people, perfectionism and procrastination, I don't have much of either of those. I'm 100% good with good enough, and I recognize the things that I might procrastinate, and I give myself small, easy goals to accomplish. I'm not very knowledgeable when it comes to like home repairs, for instance, but my condo here in Jersey City is warm and I need air conditioning. So I put on my big boy pants and, looked into a split air conditioning system and three different contractors. And happy to say that they finished up the job 2 days ago. The cleaning people just came today to clean up their mess. And I've been sleeping a million times better since then. So I'm very grateful that I'm not the type that struggles to do things. If I want to do something, I don't let the distractions, either internal or external, get in my way.
have you always been like that? Or is that a recent, like not recent, but because those are two, okay, how do I back, let me back this up. Two people in your life said you would be a really great coach. And they said that for some reason, right? So maybe you're just like naturally inspirational. Maybe they're like, yeah, you have a lot of energy, you're effervescent. I mean, yes, yes to all of these things.
Right?
But oftentimes they also know like maybe you had some struggles and they're going to be like in like you can inspire people with that, or you know that like they know that you're going to be able to relate to people. So, have you overcome the perfectionism, or are there just other things that you can then relate to people? And I will give you like a head start with this question because you and I have talked a little bit, and I know I really love the way that you approach coaching using your accountant brain. And so I wonder, like, maybe that's kind of what's going on too. So I gave you a little head start.
Yeah. So I think I have the victim to victory story, from being threatened to be fired 2 weeks before Christmas and not knowing what was going to happen next to now being in year 14 of the new path that I'm on because of that bad review that I got from that person that I worked for. So I think I'm very comfortable being vulnerable and open about my story and my journey. Becoming job free doesn't have to be something that we hide about. I think it probably is going to happen to most of us at one point in our lives. So when we're open and forthcoming about it, or at least when I am, it inspires the career coaching clients that I'm working with who are in the same situation. And I think it makes me relatable. I can relate to them. I like to think I have great empathy. So I know what the emotions are that they might be experiencing because I've gone through those same emotions, number one. But number two, I keep my empathy at a high level so that even if that was 10 or 15 years ago, I can still very easily imagine what those emotions are.
Um, I want to, I guess, move towards understanding like what your long-term goals are. I know you have the gratitude series that you've put together, and I'm wondering if you could talk to us a bit about, what kind of impact are you looking to leave? Or are you looking to leave an impact? I think most people are. But what is your like if you look back in 20 years to where you are now, like what are you hoping you've not produced, but like what feeling do you want to leave behind? What sort of impact do you want to create?
Yeah, I think the people in my life, many of them have been positively impacted to be more grateful as a result of the book series. So I know that legacy is already in process. Um, and then I'm extremely happy with my life as is. I want to keep working 2 to 3 hours a day, coaching, 2 to 3 people a day, and making very good money so that I can continue to live my best life. My family's in Philadelphia. I'm here. My mom's 81. She lives by herself. So um, anybody who's in the sandwich generation can empathize and knows that that's um, a, a good sized responsibility for an adult. And I want to make sure that she has me whenever she can. So I think continuing as is and continuing to help people get a job. I have 3 clients this year, just in the last month or two, who've gotten a new job, even in this crazy economy, which I'm super proud of. And another person just got let go 2 weeks ago, and he already has his first second round interview. And we did a mock interview yesterday, and he did very good. And I think I gave him some things to turn that very good into excellent. So I know that another big part of my legacy is helping people get a job, especially when they're job free and it wasn't their choice, and they're in a very vulnerable, upset, hurt kind of place.
I think that's fantastic. I, it is, I think people feel like it is shameful, right? And that it is something like a moral imperative when I mean, it's not, obviously,
Right.
but when you're in it, of course, it's hard to see and objectively look at it and understand that, just because a particular employer or career path or whatever isn't a good fit, it's not an indictment on you as a human, right? It's just not a good fit. It's kind of like friendships or relationships. Sometimes they're just not a good fit. And that's okay, and we can move on from that. But it's very hard to come out from under it. And I would imagine it is especially hard when there's financial implications. So understanding that for folks out there, I think is really important.
And I remember in my early entrepreneur years, I was going to lunch with two friends who had pharma jobs. They probably made 200K plus a year. And we all usually would like throw $20 on the table and that would cover it. And I was like, I don't have a 20, I don't have two tens, So I had like some change in a cup, and my bank account balance was like $9 above the limit, and I had maybe $9 in my wallet. So I put those three things together so I could have a 20 to put down on the table. And again, this is me being vulnerable, where yes, I had savings, but I didn't want to dip into savings to go out to lunch. And I know what it's like to be watching what we spend very closely.
So we need to take one more quick break before we come back to our quick response questions, but I do have one more question. I hope it's a quickish question. How do you talk to people about their careers or their jobs when we as people, we make our identities our jobs, or our jobs our identities. And we know, many of us know that we shouldn't. Many of us know that it's that it isn't, but that doesn't mean that we don't. And we try so hard not to. So when you are talking to somebody, I'm thinking about like the Zumba instructor, for example, or just, but really anybody. And whether it's dealing with that shame of being job free, where they didn't choose to, and so much of their identity was wrapped up in that, or it's a situation where they are leaving a job and maybe changing careers entirely. And they're like, and which Riley and I have both done, where we've left being practicing attorneys. And it's like, but we're attorneys. And that's a whole thing in your head when you go and leave that to do something else. How do you talk to people to help them get over that hump that so much of us in the world need to get over?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is the emotional piece. So I always check in with people at the outset of our first discussion. How are you making out emotionally? And often they have lots of negative emotions. It's very up and down. So I acknowledge and validate the emotions that they're having. And I think that helps the person feel understood and feel at least just a little bit better. And from there, we can start to talk about what's next.
Yeah, it's all scary.
Yeah, of course.
So with that, we will take a quick break and then we will be back with our quick response questions. Hey, pod friends, it's us again. Looking for a place to collaborate, an opportunity to share your knowledge? Have you been working so hard on a podcast, book, course, product, or retreat? Do you have insights that could light up our podcast? Well, we want to hear from you. We would love to support you in all that you are and do. Join us at Go Boldly Initiative, where we celebrate diverse perspectives and share the wisdom of our incredible community. Whether you're an expert, a hobbyist, or simply love learning, we invite you to reach out with your ideas. Visit our website at goboldlyinitiative.com/podcast guests to pitch the show, or shoot us an email at hello@goboldlyinitiative.com to talk all things collaboration, advertising, and affiliation opportunities. Become part of our growing family. Let's make learning an adventure together. Welcome back. I think, Riley, you are up to
I'm up
ask
for the quick response.
Yes, you are.
Excellent. All right, Russ, at the end of our episodes, we ask quick response questions. There's 5 of them. They're meant to be sort of more lighthearted ways of getting to know people because we happen to have a lot of heavy conversations on this show. So we are going to ask you, I am not allowed to ask any follow-up questions, and you just answer whatever first comes to your mind. All right, number 1, what is your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
I lie on the couch starting at 8 p.m. and I do a few word/mind games on my phone, and then I watch TV until about 9:25, 9:30, and go to a nice early bedtime.
Love it. Number 2, what's one thing on your bucket list that you haven't done yet?
I definitely want to get back to Italy, to the places I haven't been to yet. I also want to go to Spain. And there are other places, but I would say those 2 are at the top of the list. My grandfather was from southern Italy, Calabria, near Sicily. Haven't been to any of those places. My grandmother was from northern Italy, a small area called Brescia. Haven't been there yet. So I will be at some point.
All right, number 3, what is your go-to comfort food?
Oh my gosh, so much. Especially we're recording this post-Easter. I was very excited to get 75% off Peeps and Reese's peanut butter eggs at the store on Monday. So if you're Facebook friends with me, you can see I have like a picture of a huge stack of Peeps and some Reese's peanut butter eggs. So this time of year, those 2 things.
Love that. Number 4, if you could instantly master any skill, what would it be?
Well, it could be something like being handy around the house. I am not good at those things, and I don't really have much desire to be. And luckily, I can afford to pay people to do those things, but still, like, good help is hard to find. So, yes, if I could go like this, I would be able to, now that I don't have air conditioners in the window, replace the screens, get new windows, things like that. But I'm guessing the screens are on my list for this year, and the windows will hopefully be 2026 New Year's Russ solution.
All right. And finally, can you describe yourself in 3 words?
Grateful, inspiring, motivated.
Fantastic. I love it. Can you please let our listeners know where they can find you if they want to follow you or email you or all those things? What are the best places?
Yes, my website is russterrylifecoach.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Russ Terry Jr., Instagram at Russ Terry Life Coach. For anybody listening this that wants to go boldly into a new job or new career, I am your person to help make it happen. Happy to have a free 1-hour session with you to help you start on your journey, and really proud of my progress and track record and all the people over the years I've helped get a new job or launch a new career.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show. It was lovely getting to know you and hearing more about your story and all the different pathways you've taken. We appreciate it. We know our listeners will appreciate it. And we are grateful that you have been here.
Yay. Woohoo. We'll start and end with gratitude.
Exactly.
My favorite virtue.
Exactly. All right, everyone. Have a fantastic week. We'll be back next week with another episode from season 12, talking all about how you can be the author of your own story. Until then, everyone, have a fantastic and grateful week.
Thanks so much for listening to We Go Boldly podcast. We know you're busy and we love spending time with you.
If you enjoyed this week's episode, let us know. Head to Apple Podcasts right now to rate and review our show. While you're there, be sure to click that subscribe button.
Want more us time? Follow us on all the socials at Go Boldly Together.
Want even more us time? As in all the coaching pizzazz? Find us at goboldlyinitiative.com for all the info.
We will be back with more excitement, research, and deep thoughts next week.
Until then, keep on being the bold, brave, amazing people we know you already are.
The Power Moms Network, empowering moms to lift the world.